I would like to show you some Amen Junglism on the Digitakt. So if you remember, I already made a video about Amen sampling on the machine drum, because sampling on the machine drum is way more special than it is on the Digitakt, because the Digitakt is a sampler. I mean, officially it's a sampler. And this means that somehow the way how working with samples obviously works differently on a Digitakt than on a machine drum. On the one hand, or downside is, I believe the Digitakt is not really made for playing drums or chopped drums live. I mean, you can do so, but the thing is, it's not really made for playing individual parts of a samples really live. This is what an MPC is better useful for, right? But on the other side, and this is the positive thing, I believe the Digitakt is really a sample of the 21st century and is really made for current EDM music, and has some very special features that you do not find on an MPC or so. And that's what it makes interesting again. And I want to show you the workflow that I figured out for myself. I want to show you some options, what is there, and then you can still decide if it makes sense for you to dig in there more deeply or not. So let's jump into it. One more thing before we start. You might know that there's this feature of overdrive, so you can straight directly transfer samples from your DAW into your Digitakt, which is called, or which is done free via this transfer tool. So I'm using this all the time, but very, very, very often I have connected my mixer output straight to the Digitakt, and therefore I can sample, like if I listen to something on YouTube or somewhere else, I just press the play button and straight sample it into the Digitakt instead of saving a WAV file, transfer that one. And this is really quite useful. I really use this a lot. So this is the first option what you have. Either you transfer the sample or the samples via this transfer tool or overbridge. And the second thing is you sample your stuff directly, like from vinyl or somewhere else. A second thing is there are two ideas of how you can slice or chop a sample. One is, imagine you have the sample in the Digitakt. You have like the sausage of sample, right? And then one thing you can do is either you change the starting point of the sample, and you might note down when exactly those start points is, and then you program it via the triggers. And the second thing is, what I would prefer maybe in this case is that if you have a specific sample like the Amen break, that you really chop it up and save different WAV files of that one, basically like from your DAW, right? And then you just automate the sample that is being chosen by that one. To be honest, right now when I'm listening to myself, when I'm talking about it, it makes more sense to have like chopped samples as WAV files. But I was using option one when I was doing my live set because it was just faster, right? I know, okay, there's like the snare, on sample position number 0, there was the bass drum maybe on number 60, sample position 64, there was half of the break and so on. And for me, that worked out. This is the reason why I would like to show you both sides, like either, in the first place, chopping up a sample via WAV files, and the second thing is doing something via the sample start point, just to show you the different workflow, but it's more or less, it's not that much different. Let's get started. All right. What I want to show to you is slicing up an Amen break and transferring straight to the Digitakt. So I believe you guys have seen this already. I'm just chopping up Amen break. But this time it's not made for being played by MIDI or via MIDI, but to be exported as a WAV file. So I place it somewhere, just, I don't know, somewhere. And let's see how it sounds like. So let's take this part And to keep it simple, I just slice up a few parts of the amen break, not completely, yeah. So we have these 4 parts, which is this kick, hi-hat, snare hi-hat, or snare drum roll, snare kick, and famous crash and snare again. Let's export these guys as WAV files. We say PCM, not MP3. We do not normalize because otherwise Ableton would chop all these samples or normalize all these samples individually, right? And maybe this kick is not as loud as this crash or the snare, so I do not normalize in this moment. I say Amen Brother 1. Let's double check our result. Disclaimer in between, you see I already chopped up the sample, or at least I time stretched it to 174 BPM and already stretched it to the correct timing and so on. But you know, this is something I just do once and then I'm fine with that, right? So for me now it's about the Digitakt. So let's transfer those samples via transfer to our Digitakt. So this transfer tool. All right, so transferred. Let's see if we find them on the Digitakt. So let's adjust the tempo. We say 174. And let's see what kind of samples we have in here. Amen Brother samples, that's nice. That's always good. So let's load them to the project. And the way how this works is, right, I mean, we say here, trigger number 1, we trigger the first sample. And maybe let's do 1 page of pattern with the original sample or original arrangement. So I believe it must go here. And here I say I want to load up another sample, the second one. And then let's go here and say number 3. And there you hear something. What we do not want to have is I want to have the hold always enabled, not just on the note, but as well on the length, just that it's playing always, not just based on the trigger. I want that the whole sample is being played. I guess you hear the difference, right? So we always want to have the whole sample being played. It's not natural, but this is the sampling behavior what we want to have. Let's add the right sample. So let's listen to that. And then we can start to move things around. I say copy, paste. It's moving quite fast and we have 4 pages. That's the limitation of the Digitakt. I believe we just do not need this kind of granularity of the grid. So therefore I can say I can change the scale. So we say we go for half of it. And if I play that one, you see it's moving just half of the speed, right? So now we have to shift our sample again, or our pattern again. I say this one needs to go here. This one needs to go there. And crash or cymbal needs to go there. We remove that. And then we have a longer pattern we can produce. So we say here, paste. Let's say this should go maybe more here. paste, copy, paste, paste, copy, paste. Let's listen to this. Copy, paste, maybe some in between. And there you see where things start making fun. So you can play these patterns around, and the way how I work with them is I know here I have a kick. Right, here I have a kick, and then you see here I have the snare because I'm using another sample, and then I know here I'm using sample number 18, which is the right, or the crash right, I think it is, and then I copy paste them. So to be honest, it's not really intuitive like on an MPC where I push the buttons, right? And you could do so by pushing these buttons, right? But this would mean that I would use different instruments for the same sample, right? For the same loop. But this is honestly, this is not what I would like to have. I want to have everything playing on this track, this machine, like in machine drum speak. I want to be the amen break. And so therefore I'm using this automation of the sample. Maybe let's now discuss the alternative. The alternative would be, we have the sample here. Imagine we would have the sample here. The sample looks like, where's that? Like this, right? And we could now automate via the triggers the starting point of the sample. Right now, imagine this would be the whole amen break sample, right? You could do this and then note down where these individual parts are. And this is what I'm going to do just in a few minutes, okay? But right now, let's say we have the amen break or your favorite break chopped up in different samples. And that's how you can work with that. Oh, nice feature of the Digitakt, right? So let's use this one. Let's just copy this one, say page, we're going to extend. And now let's do some Junglism. This is where the fun is starting, right? We say here, we add some retriggering. And this, by the way, is stuff I think you as a Digitakt user anyhow already know. I'm not discussing this in detail, what is happening here. But yes, you have like the retrigger feature. Let's use this one. So we say here, and this is, I really now do this randomly, okay? Let's see how this sounds. Right here, a little bit longer. And here we say another retrigger. All right. Oh, that's weird. Let's see. So this is number one, retrigger feature, okay? Let's say just what we discovered, the reverse function, right? Let's utilize this one. So I'm going here and say this one should be reversed. And here as well, maybe another one, reverse. And by the way, if you double press it, you initiate the value, you initialize it. See already we added a lot of stuff that is ongoing, and to do this on an MPC would take ages, okay? Now let's say here we have the reverse part, right? Now let's go to the condition. Condition means like we can say either this is being triggered just half of the time when this is being played. Let's maybe implement some of them here, and maybe here this guy. I really do this randomly, okay? So these notes are triggered just every second time by statistics. Now, what I'm really using a lot is, let's say the last trigger here. What is that? What are we doing here? I forgot it already. We're playing a different sample. We do, I don't know what, but let's say we do a retrigger, okay? A crazy one, like this one. But we only do this if, let's say, this note, we play this beforehand, we play only half of the time. The other way around. Again. And we only trigger it if the one beforehand was not played. Pre-not. Now it was there. See, and this is how I can add variation very easily to the Digitakt, although the sequencer is not really long. And this is, I think, really quite powerful for this kind of machine, or for our music that we all love, right? Let's add another thing. Let's add the Hot Pants track. All right, so he seems to have something to tell us, but we are interested in the drum break, right? So I just go here and sample it directly. Oh, sorry, wrong button. And you see if I play here, I get a signal here. So let's play it. Sounds good, doesn't it? So we say yes, trim, play it. Many people just use half of this part, but let's use everything what we've got there. So we say yes, save, hot pants, hot pants, pants. Okay, saving. We assign this to this trigger, and we are fine. Now, obviously, this is not in 174 BPM range. Let's more or less tighten this up. I say we turn everything off. Let's adjust it to hear this. And this is perfect now to pitch our sample. Again, we go here, filter or amp, play the whole sample all the time. So now I was just using the initial note to sample it up probably, and then the tune to really tune it where it should be. I think that's the correct tempo. Okay. So now if we just again focus on the Hotpants sample, what you see right now, we're playing just half of the sample, right? So now let's change the pattern so that we use the full sample, okay? So therefore, change again the pattern length to half of it. You see there's a small gap, let's just fix that. And I imagine now in between is 15, which should be a snare. And you see this technique really just works if you have quantized loops and really, yeah, or you really find the sample starting points, what do you want to have. But right now I can do the mathematics, say, okay, for after that there should be the snare, right? Okay, so with the kick, the snare, and some stuff in between. So now I can say copy, paste, copy, copy, paste. Say here, copy, paste, copy, paste, 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 copy, paste, play. And now let's do the same stuff, just what we've done before. We say we copy the page, page, enter. Now let's add some randomness. We say here's a trigger, here's another trigger, but just by the condition of 50%. We say here's a reverse. We go here and add some other random stuff. Reverse. I don't know, the bit crusher effect. We say here, we use another reverse, but just with the probability of, again, you know, something else. We say another retrigger. Listen to that. Let's try some things, because I think the aim and reg is really quite muddy. Let's see what kind of features we have in here. So if we focus just on the Digitakt, we have the overdrive effect. Whoa, okay. I really think you got the idea how this stuff works. I think initially it's not really quite intuitive because you cannot really trigger the samples. But to be honest, I mean, it's not that important that you like push the buttons. It's really, I don't know, is it just me? But you know, if you are able to program it really properly and do some fancy stuff like probability, reverse, trigger, and I just even did not play around with the filter, right, or bit crusher, or all the other effects that are there for the triggers of the Elektron machines. And I really think that this is like the future of how to do Junglism or how to do aim and break samplings, chopping, and whatever. Not just, you know, playing it like the hip hop guys. At least that's my opinion. I would love to start a discussion about that. That is what I like about the Elektron machines. This is what I learned on the machine drum and now continue on the Digitakt with sampling. And I really think it's a creative tool. Some things are not